owner and founder of Flor Oder. So hi, Christie. How are you going today?
Hello, very well. I'm excited for this, excited for your random questions.
Me too. So I'm chatting with you in Melbourne, aren't I?
Yes. I'm right near the Queen Victoria markets in the CBD.
Oh, they're great markets. They're really great markets. I was just there for a very, very brief few hours, well, overnight, recently on my way back from Tasmania. And first thing I said to my daughters, we've got to get to those markets.
They're very good.
Very delicious. Well, Christie, I'd love it if you would share with us how you got into doing what you do. But first of all, tell us about your business name and how it came to be, and that might tell us a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, sure. So my business name, Flor Oder, is a very clever pun that a friend of mine helped me come up with using my last name and kind of like that law and order vibe about getting things in order and having a bit more structure in your life and the like. So it came about because I was working in the public service actually in Canberra, and colleagues just kept commenting on how organized I was, and they asked me for help and like, how did I do that? How did I fit so much into my week and all? But and then it ended up, I was like, oh, okay, like there's a theme coming up here. And I started a hobby blog. So Flor Oder started as a hobby blog. And so that was like, said to my friend, oh, I need a name for this blog. And then we came up with that. So I had a few words that I was interested in including, and then they came up with Flor Oder, and I was just like, yes, that's it. I love it.
Oh, good. And incorporating your name in there as well. I just think it's so clever. And so then how did that transition go from you working in that sector to suddenly it being like a hobby blog, and then boom, you're running a business teaching people how to be more organized in time management, etc.
So it was a hobby blog for maybe like a year, and then slowly I was starting to get that feeling that my role in the public service wasn't for me and it was time to move, and Canberra was feeling small, and so I made a move and decided that Melbourne was for me and I was going to go and do that. So, but before I moved from Canberra, a few people had asked me for help organizing their wardrobe, their garage. I helped someone move to Sydney. And so that was my first like venture into organizing. So I moved to Melbourne, and I at first thought, well, maybe I'll keep building this on the weekend. But I quickly flipped that around because I went to a few interviews and I just wouldn't have hired me at all. I was so not interested. I was like, no, I think you're telling yourself like it's time to flip this around, get a little part-time job and go hard on making this business come alive. So I became a receptionist at a engineering firm. And then later I went on to become an executive assistant and did only just a few days. And so that gave me the flexibility to build the business. And I was a house organizer towards the end of 2019, I decided that like everyone that I really love working with, there's some form of life admin, there's some form of project management. We always dive into their calendars. I always like helping them with their time and like getting philosophical about why they're feeling tired and what can they do to get more of their hobby into their week. And I decided like, actually, I think I need an online business and I want to concentrate on this part of organizing, which is that time management and efficiency and effectiveness. So luckily, I decided that just before COVID kind of took off. So took the first 6 months of 2020 to rebrand and re-educate my network. And here we are. I followed the breadcrumbs and here I am. I'm feeling happy about being on this topic. Yeah.
So brilliant. I love those words, efficiency and effectiveness. I think that all of us need more of that in our lives, and not just in our businesses, but also in our personal lives too.
Yes, exactly right. Yeah, so efficiency, all about doing things easily and quickly, and then effectiveness, so focusing on the right things. So like making sure we're spending our time on the right things for us. Yeah.
So who do you work with? Who are your dream clients? Or should I reword that? Not necessarily who do you work with right now, but who are your dream clients in general? What are the kind of people that you want to attract to work with?
Yeah, I love working with creatives who just can't seem to make the impact that they want to do. So, and that's like photographers, it's anyone who's kind of creative. So not just like artists or whatnot, but just creatives who want to get some impact going, but can't seem to manage all the other stuff that goes on behind that. So I like helping people, get their impact out there. And so helping them with the structures and everything that's needed for them to do all the little like bits and pieces and the, in quotation marks, the boring stuff that they'd rather not be doing, but like it's helping them, enabling them to do what they want to do and what they have been brought to do in the world. So that's who I love to work with, creatives.
Incredible. And do you ever miss doing the hands-on side of it? You said that you were doing house organizing and things. Do you ever miss that part of it?
Sometimes. I'm very lucky here in Melbourne that I have friends in the organizing industry. So if they have a big job on and I'm available, then I can put my hand up and, give it a go again, get my hands dirty again. So that's really nice. I know Julie Cliff in the huddle. Yeah, she's had me on a few jobs just to like, we get to hang out, have some fun, organize something. It's really cool.
Brilliant. Gosh, that's very, very enviable skills to have. I have to say. I first sort of started understanding more about just being more organized years and years ago, long before Marie Kondo ever did her TV show or anything. And I first read her book. So I don't know how many years ago, a lot of years ago though. And what evolved out of that for me was a complete from one end of the house to the other, clearing out. Then I'm trying to think, my daughter's 19 and I think she was 14 at the time when we did this. So it's a good, at least 5 years ago. And so I said to her, it was towards the end of December. And I said, how about we have a whole year of no buying? What do you think about that? And my husband's not much of a buyer anyway, so he wouldn't be fun to take on the journey, but she certainly would be. And so I said, how about the only things we buy are knickers and socks. If we really, really need to, or underwear. But if we don't, then we don't. And we don't bring anything else into the house. And she was like, okay, I'm up for it. And I thought she'd last a month. And I thought I might last 2 months. But what do you know? We lasted a full year, which I just found extraordinary. Lots of people along the way heard about what we were doing. And we got interviewed on the radio at different places. And then in the last month, so through December, and I said to her, do you want to start writing a list of what you want to buy on the 1st of January when this is all over? So we both wrote our little lists. And I don't think she had more than 3 things on it. And I had maybe a few more. And then I don't think either of us bought anything till the end of January anyway. So it was so interesting. And then through that, I did even more clear out because I just realized I just don't need it. It was quite extraordinary. But as I said, that's like 5 or 6 years ago. And then things creep in,
Yeah. And I like the relation between decluttering. It saves you time because you have less stuff to look through. And also even just, having your wardrobe organized, it saves you time because you're not using up valuable decision-making how we have so many decision making abilities during the day, and so if you can make your wardrobe streamlined, you're saving yourself decision stress. So everything comes back to time.
What would be your top tip in that line? Like, for example, for me, it's always been a real thing that I wash everything at the end of, say, winter, and put it all away and store it, and then out comes summer and spring. And I really like that process of the changeover, and it certainly puts less in my wardrobe and that kind of thing. So that would be something that I don't even know if probably my mum taught me that, I'm not really sure, but that's always been a good one for me around my wardrobe. But what would you have as a top tip for sharing around that kind of thing in the home, for example, where you started in this business?
Yeah, I would say I love doing that too. It's a bit in Melbourne, we get like 4 seasons in one day. So, it's a bit dangerous to put something away because you might just need it. But yes, if you bring stuff out, to then put it on the coat hangers and then pop it the other way. So pop it behind. And so then when you use something, then you put it the right way, like into your wardrobe. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. And so then after 6 months, or after when you're ready to do the next changeover, then you know which ones you haven't actually worn, so you can like donate them. I really love doing that.
Clever.
Yeah,
I've never heard that, but I think that's very, very clever.
yeah. Sometimes I like if something's not turned around, I like to see the challenge if I can work it into the next outfit or whatnot. But usually I'll just follow the policy, like, oh, you haven't worn it, so just donate it.
That's cool. I love it a lot. So then when you moved into, at the beginning of COVID, and you already decided you wanted to take it online and things, do you do that through online courses, or do you do that through working face to face, but I mean, on Zoom or whatever? Yeah. Or how do you work it?
Yeah, like with my clients, you mean? Yeah. So it's on Zoom. I love the share screen feature. So it's awesome. Like, people can share their calendars with me. We can put in everything that they need to do. They can pull up their systems. So like, a lot of people are on digital task management systems and the like, and have a lot of note-taking things that are accessible on the desktop. So it's all really, like, Zoom really lends itself to it. I do have some people who are like still in the day planners, or we're transitioning them onto digital calendars, but then we just do the whole holding it up and like, they point to it and stuff, and that's pretty fun. So so it's just on Zoom, which I've found like amazing. So I have clients, it's funny you mentioned Tasmania. I have a farmer in Tasmania. He's really creative. I have a couple of professional organizers in Sydney. I was working with a yoga teacher in Queensland, actually, and I loved her brand, her essence, everything. It was so cool. And then a couple engineering folk here in Melbourne. So quite a variety of people. And Zoom lets you get to everyone.
Sure does. So I live in the Byron Shire in northern New South Wales. And when I moved here 22 years ago, and I moved right into Byron, the first thing I learned, and I had a film production business back then. I was based in Sydney and I brought it up here. And the first thing I learned that I knew immediately would drive me bonkers is that everybody up here called it Byron time. So if you need something, then it's on Byron time. So just because I need it now, or need it in 15 minutes, or need it in 2 days, chill out. It's Byron time. 22 years of that. Byron time doesn't suit me. I'm very like, let's get on with it. Let's do it. Boom, boom, boom. And it's super frustrating. So I think you could possibly work with, 60, 70% of the whole Shire up here.
Oh, wow.
On one hand, though, it is lovely, isn't it, that people can sit back and relax and do it when it suits them. But if you're not that sort of person, that's
my mum actually has a story of, she did a posting in Lima back in the 70s, and if you would get a wedding invite or whatnot, it would say the time. So it would say like, 11 a.m. English time. So then you knew that you had to be on time rather than Peruvian time. So if it said English time, you had to be there at 11 a.m. And I think that's really interesting, how time is so different around the world.
Yes, isn't it?
And the history of it. And the Industrial Revolution, and actually trains have a lot to do with why we are so particular about time, which I find fascinating.
Yeah, it totally is. I definitely agree. And how some people, I've sometimes asked the question in my Facebook group saying, are you an on time, before time, or late in time? Yeah. And it's really interesting to me because I'm generally right on time. I've never liked people turning up early to something, and I certainly wouldn't do it because I think then you catch people unaware or whatever.
Yeah.
But it amazed me how many people said that it was really important to them to always be early, that is the epitome of politeness, etc., etc. I'm like, whoa. And lateness to me, I'm not so bothered by that as long as it's just a few minutes or something. But I have a friend who wouldn't think anything of being an hour late to a lunch date or something. And that's quite challenging. I know, it's going to be quite challenging. So I'm also fascinated about how people view time. And so much of it is around their values, isn't it? And we all have such different values. So
yeah, it's really interesting around lateness, because it's like if someone is always, say, 15 minutes late, it's because, well, generally psychological, because they're turning up exactly when they want to. But if it's like, if they're turning up 2 minutes late, 3 minutes late, 5 minutes late, like it really varies, then it's technical skills. And I find that interesting, like as to dig into. I was working with a client who had a lot of anxiety around being the first one there and having nothing to do and being alone. And so then we tracked it back as to how that affected her getting ready and what she needed to do and how she was like sabotaging herself to getting to things. So the psychological aspects of time, I love diving into that with people as well, just like exploring what does it actually mean. And
that's so fascinating, isn't it? One thing that I've always been famous for is going overtime. So when I was teaching dancing, I would be going overtime, and in my one-on-ones, I'll often go overtime, and in my group. And I've got to remember that actually I feel that that's an awesome thing because I'm giving more value, et cetera, but it's not respecting other people's time. So yes, they might be getting this great value, but actually, if it was meant to finish at 10, they have something they need to get to perhaps. So it's a real balance, because I'd rather give generously, and I don't, clearly in my mind, I'm not seeing it as causing an issue. So there you go again. Interesting.
Maybe you have more Byron time than you realize.
There you go, maybe. So do you have a mantra or a quote that you live by, that in terms of your business or in your personal life?
Oh, so many. I often have those really large, big Post-it notes, and I scroll on them my latest mantra and have them in the bathroom. At the moment, I have some Post-its around my desk right now. I have "the intention is the outcome," which I quite like.
Yes.
And and to think about, like, I don't know, what else do I want to share? Lots of, I like the one about that business is abundance to a scarcity again and again. I like that kind of.
Repeat that. Business
is abundance to scarcity again and again.
Yes, that's fascinating. I love hearing a new one I've never heard before, and I'm going to sit with that one and process it and ponder it. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh, I like it a lot. Yeah, so if you could give a tip to someone just starting out in business on their own, so maybe in a situation where you were just a few years ago, where you were doing it as a hobby, then you realized, I want this to be much more than a hobby, so I'm going to take a part-time job and then get to the stage where you can do it full-time. What's a tip that you can share for women that are just at that same stage as where you were?
Ooh. Be mindful of all the shoulds. Like, there's so many shoulds. You should do this, you should do that, you should do this. But like, and maybe that's part of the process of like wading through them and kind of plucking out your weeds of the shoulds. But I think that's something I would say to my younger self, or someone starting out in business, just to be mindful of the shoulds. Like, everyone will give you their advice and everything that you should be doing, but you need to check in with yourself as to what feels right and what is going to work for you.
Gosh, that's good, Christie. Oh, I like it. I like it a lot. So have you got something new that's coming up? I'm not sure if you go off the calendar year or the new financial year, but have you got a new project coming up or anything that you'd like to tell us about?
Yeah, well, interesting you say that about financial year, because business wise, and I share this with clients too, I set my business intentions by the financial year. And so it's kind of like I feel this surge of we're coming up to the end, it's a new start. And then I set my personal goals by the calendar year. So it's kind of like they're going in tandem. But so this next financial year, my focus is going to be on bringing menstrual cycle awareness and productivity together. I recently completed some training in menstrual cycle awareness, and just it's a game changer. It's changed how I do business. It's changed how I think about my life, my way of being a woman in business, and so far the clients that I've worked with on this, it's just been a game changer for them. So I'm really going to be focusing a lot more on that in the new financial year. I really want to bring that into more women's businesses, being aware of their menstrual cycle.
Gosh, I'm blown away. I've got so many thoughts rushing through my head. But what's one interesting thing to me, the minute you started talking about it, is, wow, hang on a moment. Having worked for, a number of years in my mid-20s in corporate in Sydney, even though it was very much women dominant, still, you never, ever talked about where you're at. Never talked about hormonal anything or anything at all like that. So how fascinating to go from my experience anyway, where it's not something that where I don't even think I'm saying this the right thing at all, but in a way we've come from a man's working world, haven't we, really? And we've tried so hard to fit in and make it our own, and then soar from there as women, hence why women network together and women support each other and collaborate and all of that. But anyway, to get back on track there, how extraordinary to go from that to now not just acknowledging that we are women and different with our cycles, etc., but then also how to make our businesses work better because of that. Is that what you mean? Like maybe share a bit more to make sure I've got it on track there.
Yeah, no, that's spot on. I just just like you, I was very in a hustle, like masculine way of doing life. And I would often be beating myself up for like not being the same every week. And like, but you were great last week, or you were really switched on last week. So what's happening this week? And like, and then I came across this woman's work about menstrual cycle awareness and started observing my own cycle. And I'm embarrassed to say that at 36, so this is like a year and a half ago, that's when I realized that like, oh, it's not just my bleed that actually is having an effect, like it's the whole month, and I need to be taking into consideration the whole month, not just this week where I am bleeding. So to move from that to more of a feminine way of doing business, to actually look at my calendar and I booked in this and I referred to my period app. I'm like, when is my period due? Am I going to be more confident? Is this a good time for me to do this? And so by knowing your cycle and more information about the hormones that are happening in the cycle, you're able to pick out when to do certain activities. When is it best to do talks? When is it best to have analytical looking, getting into your documents and things like that? When is it best to be editing? And looking at when you feel more outward in the world and inward. So applying all of that to business. And I just feel it's really slowed me down. Rather than thinking, I need to be doing all of this today, it's like, actually, okay, I'm going to plug that in a couple of weeks' time because I know that's going to suit my mood better. And this, okay, I'm going to put that there. And it's helped too with socializing. So knowing like, okay, I need to reserve some energy for me, take some step back, and then how that affects my work as well. So how it all holistically comes together. So yeah, spot on.
extraordinary. I was just thinking. So some of the speaking gigs I do, and it's men that are trying to not trying. It's men that I'm working with, and they're slotting the right times in and things. I'm even imagining saying to them, "Well, that's not the right time for me to speak for my cycle." And you're really going to be shaking up the world. I love it, Christie.
Yeah, I mean, that's not to say like if an opportunity came up and it was amazing, and like, with this, it was great because I can choose when suits me best. But say if someone comes to you and says, this is it, this is the day, and say if I looked at my calendar and I was like, oh, that is going to be a tough one, but like, I'll do it. It's not to say like we can't do things, but it's just like, it means that the night before, I'll be sure to be in bed early. I'll cancel like any social things around it. I'll know that I need to not do anything after that opportunity. And you look at kind of even your diet as to what do I need to do to help myself through this moment. So I helped a client once. We pulled out her calendar, we were looking at that, and she was like, this is going to be a monster of a week, like, and my period is due. And I was like, oh god, okay. So we just like delayed things that she didn't have to get onto. We put in a lot of rest time, we put in some walks with nature, and like just things that she needed to really get through the week, make the week really comfortable for her. And she said afterwards, it was just like being on autopilot. She was like, I didn't crash and burn. I just got through it. I just like, it happened and it was great. And I wasn't like tearing my hair out at the end of it. And I was like, this is awesome. It was such a moment.
Wow. So you said combining menstrual cycle awareness and productivity. So how are you going to be continuing doing that with your one-to-ones, or running it in groups or online, or how do people connect with you that are interested in this?
Yeah, well, I love the one-to-one work just because everyone's systems are different, everyone's menstrual cycles are different, and it takes us a little bit of time to get that data together as to with their cycle tracking as to when are the best times for them to be doing different things, as well as then working on that technical side of the productivity. So I like the one-to-one, giving them my full attention, focusing on them, really getting into the nitty-gritty of their unique situations. So it's through my one-to-one holistic time mastery program that I'll be focusing a lot on the menstrual cycle awareness and the productivity, and making sure we've got the technical skills as well as designing the life that they want.
Amazing. So how do people get in touch with you, Christie?
My website is www.flororder.com. I'm also on Instagram and LinkedIn, so happy with all of those as well. But the website's probably the best way to book in a call. We can have a quick chat, or just shoot me an email and we can talk via email. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. And I've got one last question. So what's your top tip that you could share about being a woman in business to other women in business?
Ooh, top tip. I don't want to repeat myself about menstrual cycle, knowing your menstrual cycle. Plug everything into your calendar, I'd say. Just fall in love with your calendar. Use it like it is your personal assistant, and get everything out of your brain. Attach every thought that you have, and then you're like, I need to do that. Get it out of your brain, get it into your calendar, attached to a time, and you will be feeling that much lighter.
It's such a brilliant tip. And I live by my calendar for sure. And I don't have a paper one. It's just online, but I can bring it up on my phone or my desktop or wherever. So what's your favorite calendar that you use?
I'm a Google Calendar girl. I love it. I love all the colors, and just know all the bits and pieces of that. I used to use that. Yeah. I mean, now it looks okay. That's what I used to use in my old life. But Google Calendar.
So good. Christie, that was amazing. Thank you. My head is brimming with thoughts now. I need to go and process all of those. I'm just fascinated by what you're doing, and I'm going to go and check out your website. And it it was so wonderful a few months back having you as our speaker on Positive Passionate Businesswoman. So thanks again for being that wonderful role. And thank you so much for talking with me today about what you do and how you got there and all of that. It was so many wonderful shares. I'm very grateful for your time.
Oh, thank you so much, Kylie. Thank you.
So you have a wonderful night, and thank you for everybody listening. You can see in the caption and in the notes on this post, and once it's up on the podcast, that you can connect with Christie through floranorder.com and find out more about how you can be more productive in your business and in your life. So thanks, Christie, and thanks, everyone. Wonderful to see you, and have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.